بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. We continue reading from the 40 principles of the religion, 40 fundamentals of religion, الأربعين في أصول الدين by Imam Al-Ghazali رحمه الله. نفعنا بهم في الدارين آمين آمين آمين. And we continue from where we have left, and it was the following verse from the Quran. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. Verily, we offer the trust to the heavens, the earth, and the mountains, but they refused to carry it and were afraid of it. Humanity carried it. Really, it's al-insan in the singular. And I spoke about this, and I will repeat it. Indeed, humanity. Indeed, it's a pronoun referring to the insan. Indeed, the human being has always been prone to wrongdoing and woefully ignorant. I said, of course, it's about humanity, but the text speaks about the insan. And the level of responsibility or the impact psychologically. The issue is one would be more touched by the word insan. Probably this is my opinion, and it's a matter of translation. So the human being shouldered this responsibility, this trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented to this universe. The meaning of the trust, Imam Al-Ghazali says, is subjection to responsibility and risk. There is no risk for the inhabitants of the earth, the animals, because they have no possibility of rising to the third stopping place. Likewise, there is no risk for the angels, because they have no fear of sinking into the laws or sinking to the laws of the animal world. Meaning the human being could go in either direction, either going up to the level of the angels or going down to the level of the animals. And the Quran describes those who are like the animals, kal-an'am. Indeed, even worse. Look at the human and the wonders of his world, how he rises to the highest heaven and falls to the measly earth, bearing this grave risk that none in existence bears but him. O pitiful one, how do you threaten me with punishment, and seek to frighten me for overstepping the overwhelming majority of scholars and disagreeing with the well-known opinion, when that is my joy and happiness. Remember that Imam Al-Ghazali says right at the beginning of the Ihya, of the revival of the Islamic, of the religious sciences, in the introduction, he already said that some people would not be happy with him really creating his own niche, coming up with his own ideas. And they are not in vain. Indeed, he says, he continues, that which they hate about me is what my heart desires. So turn the page of nonsense and do not cause my disturbance with your clamoring after this. Types of punishment in the afterlife. As for you asking me about the details of the punishment of the grave and its types, then do not aspire for details, for that invites to boredom and verbosity. Be satisfied with a mention of its types, for it has become apparent to me in a manner clearer than physical vision that the types of punishment in the grave are three, the spiritual among them, the ordeal of desired things, the humiliation of ignominy, and regret over the passing of things. These are the three types of spiritual fire that are launched consecutively upon the spirit of someone who preferred the worldly life, ending with him being forced to endure physical fire. Indeed, that is at the end of the affair. Now then, pay attention to the explanation of these types. The first type is the ordeal of being separated from desired things. Its metaphor, taken from the sensory world and world of mental images, is the viper. Revelation described it and numbered its heads, which are according to the number of desires and base attributes of the person. It bites the depths of the heart with a painful bite, even when the body is detached from it. Imagine a king in this world of yours, dominant over the entire earth, capable of enjoying all pleasures and delighting in them, infatuated with beautiful faces and preoccupied with them, loving authority, forcing people to obey and being obeyed by them. Imagine that his enemy overcame him in a moment of heedlessness, enslaved him, and publicly used him to take care of dogs. This enemy proceeds to enjoy his luxuries and take pleasure with his wife and concubines, freely makes use of his stored up wealth, and divides it up between the former king's enemies and the criers. Now look, do you see a viper upon his heart with many heads, biting the depths of the heart, despite his body being detached from it? He wishes that if only his body were tried with diseases and agonies so that he might be rid of it. When everybody knows that Andalusia was a great success in terms of science, um, 800 years practically of Islamic rule. You talk about gardens, water fountains, science and art, and palaces. It's like a fairy tale. It's like a fairy. The universities, the philosophers, the theologians, the jurists. And then it was lost. It was lost. Inside the mosque of Cordoba, inside the mosque of Cordoba, which was turned into a church. You can see from a distance the church sticking out of the roof of the mosque. You can see the church steeples. Inside, there is a room that has a painting. Of course, Muslims are not allowed to pray in it. And there is a painting inside with the Khalifa on his knees, giving the key of the city to Ferdinand and Isabel, probably, but giving the keys. This is surrendering, really. And the same story would repeat itself in different places of Andalusia. What went through the mind and heart of that caliph, that prince, that when he saw everything going down the drain. Yes. At any rate, I felt like I was there, and I felt like the mosque. The mosque remains a mosque, even if it's really turned into a church, but it remains a mosque. So I felt that the mosque really misses the call for the prayer, the adhan, and I started making the call for the adhan, though it was morning. But the idea was to raise the adhan not in a loud voice. And in fact, I kept raising the adhan one after the other. So being separated from one's desires, it's and it doesn't have to be an enemy. In fact, when you leave a house that could be somebody will live in it, you leave a wife that she could marry someone, this is not haram, and you leave wealth that will be distributed. God knows who will enjoy your wealth, but you'll be held responsible for this wealth. So the enemy proceeds to enjoy his luxuries and take pleasure with his wife and concubines, freely makes use of his stored up wealth, and divides it up between the former king's enemies and decriers. Now look, do you see a viper upon his heart with many heads, biting the depths of his heart, despite his body being detached from it? He wishes that if only his body were tried with diseases and agonies, so that he might be rid of it. Imagine this. For perhaps through it you'll catch some slight whiff of the crusher, which is Allah's blazing fire that ascends over the hearts and has been prepared for the person who hoarded uncounted wealth, believing that his wealth would make him live forever. Money cannot buy everything. But as I've said this before, and I will keep saying this, you will need money for a country, for a state, for a society, for the welfare, of the society. You need to be strong economically, you need to be strong politically, but that should always be with your, it will take place when you are able to defend yourself, and that needs money. Money that is translated into economic power, money that is translated into science and creatively. We don't talk about memorization as the tawjih, the high school education system that is highly dependent on memorization. Imagine this. Yep. Now, know that every dead person's torment is commensurate to this viper's heads. In turn, the number of its heads is according to the number of desired things. For this reason, whoever is poorer and enjoys the world less, his torment in the afterlife is easier for him. Whoever has no relationship with the world in the first place has no torment on account of it all. Can you have this world in your hand and not in your heart? Because it could be the case that it's not in your hand, but it is still in your heart. And you could have it in your hand and your heart. And my question is, can you have it in your hand but not in your heart? Remember that Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, radiallahu anhu, the third caliph, son-in-law of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a wealthy man, and he financed the military campaign to Tabuk. Remember this. The second type is the humiliation of ignominy. Imagine a vile, low-life man, poor and incapable, whom a king draws near. He raises him, strengthens him, gives to him, appoints him as a viceroy to his kingdom, and enables him to enter into his harem and troves. The king does all of this relying upon the man's trustworthiness. When his luxury increases, however, he transgresses and oppresses. Yes. He transgresses. He begins to embezzle from the king's troves and makes lewd sexual advances to his wife, to the king's wife, daughters, and concubines. During all of this, he makes a show of trustworthiness to the king and believes that the latter is unaware of his betrayal. In the midst of his outlandish violations and betrayal, he notices a peephole and sees that the king is watching him through it. He knows now that the king has been watching him daily. However, he has been keeping a low profile and allowing him to carry on until he increased in filth and vileness, thereby increasing how much he deserved to be punished, so that all kinds of torment would descend upon him in the afterlife. Now look at how his heart burns with the fire of humiliation and ignominy, while his body is detached from it. Look at how he wishes for his body to be tormented with every sort of punishment, just to subdue his humiliation. Do not humiliate yourself. How could you basically keep your head high? Piety, being God conscientious, doing the right thing. If you say, like this, you engage in deeds in this world that are desirable and pleasurable to you. These deeds have filthy and repugnant spiritual realities. Yet you are ignorant of them, believing in their goodness. In the afterlife, their realities are revealed to you in their grotesque forms. Thus, you are humiliated and exposed in such a manner that you'd prefer physical pain instead. If you say, how are these spiritual realities revealed to me? Then know that you will not understand except through similes. Among these, for example, is that the mu'adhin calls to prayer in Ramadan before dawn. Thereafter, he sees in his sleep a seal on his hand. by which he seals men's mouths and women's private parts. So Ibn Sirin, who was known for dream interpretation, says to him, "You saw this because of your calling to prayer before dawn." Now consider that when he was slightly removed from the physical sensory world, the spirit of his deed was revealed to him. However, due to him still being in the world of mental images, because the sleeper's imagination does not cease with sleep, imagination veiled him with an imagined form, namely the seal and the object of sealing. Nevertheless, this is a form more indicative of the spirit of the deed than the actual call to prayer, because the world of sleep is closer to the world of the afterlife. Hence, confusion within it is slightly weaker, although it still is not devoid of confusion. That is why it requires interpretation. And remember the story of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam in jail with his two prison cellmates. If a person were to say to that muazzin, "Do you not feel shy about sealing men's mouths and women's private parts?" he would surely say, "I seek refuge in Allah from doing that." To be brought forth to be brought forth for execution is preferable to me than to do so. The literal, it is still execution, but the فَتُضْرَبَ عُنُقِي in Arabic. So to be, no, it's about the image is beheading. To be beheaded is preferable to me than to do so. He loathes it because he is ignorant of it, despite the fact that he did it, because his spirit falls short of perceiving the spiritual reality of things. Likewise, if you were to eat some tasty meat, thinking that it was poultry, then somebody said to you, "Do you not feel shy about eating the corpse of your dead brother so and so?" You'd surely say, "I seek refuge in Allah from doing that. To die hungry is easier for me than that." Then you looked and saw that it was the corpse of your dead brother that had been cooked and served to you, yet obscure to you. Look at how you would be humiliated and exposed by it, although your body was detached from it. This is how the backbiter will see himself in the hereafter, because the spirit of backbiting is tearing apart the honor of brothers and making fun of it. In the world of the afterlife, the spiritual realities of things are revealed. Backbiting. This is what is written here. أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه. Do you, any one of you, would like to eat the flesh of of the corpse of his brother, the flesh of his brother as a dead person, and you would detest it, you would hate it? That's the image, and it's probably one of the easiest sins, a grave sin, and that people do not really pay attention to it, or they don't. There's a certain joy chewing the flesh of your brother. Probably for some people, it's a daily thing. They get together and what do? Backbiting. and not only amongst the the average person, or it's not only the awam. I don't know. Yes. Likewise, imagine if you threw a stone at a wall and then somebody said to you, "Do you not feel shy about doing that?" The stone could ricochet off the wall, bounces back, land in your house, hit your children in the eyes, and blind all of them. You would say, "I seek refuge in Allah from doing that." Imagine the person then said, "Enter your house." So you entered your house and found that the matter was as he said. Look at how you would be exposed, and your heart would burn with regret over your deed. You thought it was insignificant, but it was tremendous to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the spirit of envy for your brother. Indeed, you envy him, yet do not harm him. Rather, it is reversed on you. By destroying your religion and transferring to his record your good deeds. Also, in backbiting, you transfer your good deeds to him. And if you have no good deeds, then if he has bad deeds, it will be transferred to you. Which are the coolness of your eye, because they are the reason for your eternal happiness. They are greater than a child's eye. If this spiritual reality were revealed to you, look at how you would burn with the fire of ignominy, although your body was detached from it. What's envy? Envy is that you would wish whatever good, whatever blessing, whatever whatever gift Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to this person, you'd wish that it would disappear, that he or she would not have any more. And the meaning of this, Imam Al-Ghazali says originally in the Ihya, the meaning of this is that basically you are objecting that this person would have such goods or such wife or such children or such house or such work or such factory or such. You are objecting. And when you are objecting, you are against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will that this person will have such and such things. Imagine yourself objecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where is Islam, which is really surrender? And of course, one should understand. Then Imam Al-Ghazali mentions the Quran frequently speaks about spiritual realities. For this reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about backbiting, أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Would one of you like to eat the corpse of his dead brother? And he said about envy, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ إِنَّمَا بَغْيُكُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. O people, indeed, your oppression is only to yourselves. The example of the call to prayer, backbiting, and envy are enough for you. Apply these examples to every action that sacred law has forbidden you from committing. This prohibition is due the repugnance of the action's spiritual reality. The apparent goodness is to outer vision, yet its inner is repugnant to the inner vision illuminated from the lamp of Allah's lamp, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Revelation expressed this when it said, on the day of resurrection, the world will be shown in the form of an old cyanotic hag. her qualities are such and such, and such and such. No one will see her without saying, I seek refuge with Allah from her. Then it will be said, this is your world that you were so deeply concerned about. Hence, people will find within themselves humiliation and disgrace over which they would prefer hellfire. Ibn Abi Dunya verified this tradition, and it's really from the sayings of Ibn Abbas. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with both of them. So it's not a hadith. Wallah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Inshallah, we will continue tomorrow. Suffice it for today. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.